Hello and welcome to Education Update. I'm Nyesha McCauley and my partner here.
Back again. Great to be here. Thanks so much. I'm Paul, the Executive Director of Achieve Hartford.
All right, and as we do every week, we like to update you on just some of the things that are happening in the city of Hartford on the education front. And just to follow up from last week, we wanted to update you on the budget hearing that happened last Tuesday. And some interesting things, always happen during budget season. The public gets more insight into how the district is prioritizing, how they're spending the money. So, the public had a chance to come out and talk about what they see as priorities for this coming school year and what has happened. And I think you heard some similar themes. People see a disparity still between neighborhood schools versus magnet schools. That was one of the themes. Resources just in general at schools, down to, is there enough toilet paper, just, really basic things. So,
yeah, I mean, and not much different than in years past, to be honest. But I think maybe it is time to think about how the public is engaged a little bit differently, because folks come out and have a lot of the same concerns, and they're thinking that maybe no one's listening. But things are tighter every year. The school district is shrinking its budget every year. It seems with more kids coming in, and maybe the budget's bigger. That it's all about shrinking. Getting leaner and leaner. And this year they talked about actually having more money going to neighborhood schools per pupil than on average going to magnet kids per pupil. So maybe they are listening, right? I mean, I tend to think that there is some really good things happening with the budget, but I think maybe in the future, the thing to talk about is, how do we make sure that those folks who know the budget really well, right, and know what's happening, can talk about what's happening in a way that's very general, very broad, and is painting some clear themes that the public cares about, right? Like equity issues, like how are we dealing with custodial staff? What's the conversation about those things that the public brings up every year? How do they get addressed before a public hearing?
Exactly. It's interesting because you said a conversation, and that's generally what's not happening when it comes to a budget process. Like, we're just going through a big book of numbers, so there's no conversation, happening. But so that's key.
I tend to think that what could be a little bit more beneficial is there being a presentation that isn't 100 PowerPoint slides or a ton of numbers, just saying here's the strategic plan of the district, here's how more money is either going to college readiness or to middle school or to the third grade promise, and to show kind of where the investments are going into those things. Like, how do you keep it at 30,000 feet so it doesn't get crazy in the weeds and about just positions eliminated here, these positions added. It's like, what is it? What are the core themes of the budget? There was a little bit of that, at the hearing. I will, always give the district credit, because they have a really strong accounting department, and they're able to do things in their budget that I think a lot of other city departments can't do. I mean, they're really good about figuring out how to plan for next year.
Right.
But I think we're going to continue to get folks to come every year who are asking some of the basic questions, and how do we just anticipate those questions a little bit more and get them answered, and do it in a little bit of more of a conversation style, to your point.
So, on that front, and just talking about having a conversation around things that are happening, some of the work that we do at Achieve Hartford is bringing a lot of this information to you by way of reports and issue briefs. And so we actually have a very aggressive schedule of how we want to roll out some of the things that we've been working on at Achieve Hartford, or some of the things we've been looking at, how our school district is performing. So
it's going to be, I would say it's going to be a very busy spring for Achieve Hartford. So in thinking about how the district does communications, we've got an issue brief coming out on best practices for urban district communications, right? How the district has to start engaging the community better. We've got another brief that we're trying to do on family engagement, right? On how that needs to work much better in Hartford. We've got another brief coming out on some lessons for the superintendent, the next superintendent. Hopefully before she gets too comfortable, we'll have something out there for her that says, here are all the lessons that we've gathered from the last 7 years of reform in Hartford. Hopefully you won't make some of these mistakes. We've got two reports though coming out. One is going to be a 7-year look at how schools have done, how their demographics have changed, right? So either special ed, ELL, and their scores, how have they gone through redesigns or are not redesigns, or even the magnet schools, and comparing the different kinds of schools to each other. It's going to be a 7-year report. That would be a great thing for the next superintendent to take a read on and say, wow, so this is really the history of what's happened in 7 years. And then another report that's looking at magnet schools in particular, and looking at how Hartford residents are doing versus their suburban peers who come into that school. Is the gap between these two student groups growing? Is it shrinking?
Right.
That's a great report because you get to answer some interesting questions like, well, how do Hartford kids do in magnet schools compared to Hartford kids who are not in magnet schools?
Right.
Or how much do the gains of the suburban kids in these 16 magnet schools or so, how much do those gains impact the entire gains of the district? Right, because they're in our schools, right? They're Hartford students, but they're from other cities, and so we're excited about that report, and it's going to come out in a good time.
Yeah, right on the cusp of this Magnet School Conference that's happening here. Hartford is the host city for Magnet Schools of America.
Wow.
Huge conference, and looking at all things magnet schools. So to have that kind of information available. Not only for Hartford parents, but I would imagine suburban parents are interested in that.
Sure.
Our policymakers across the board would be interested in seeing that. Quite an intel into how this whole process is working. And, we actually are presenting at the Magnet School Conference, which is the 16th, 17th, and 18th of May. So one of the areas that we're going to talk about includes family engagement. So
we're going to do a presentation that and I'll not that it's a secret, but I'll share with the audience what the 3 points are. When we've run 4 years of a choice education program where we've worked with folks in the community like Hart and all the pre-K centers to train parents to train other parents on how to navigate school choice, which is unbelievably complex in Hartford because there's so many choices, right? Open choice, magnet choice, neighborhood choice. And there's 3 main takeaways that we want to share with the audience at that conference, which is you got to get parents to be the ones training other parents, right? You got to use tools like smartchoiceshartford.org to really help folks simplify it, right? Understand what schools am I even eligible for, and then you got to go to where parents are, right? And so that's why we've always tried to go to the pre-K centers. So. We're going to expand upon that and try to train other folks from other cities who are working with parents. But, all these folks pouring into Hartford is a big deal. I mean, you've got everyone running magnet schools from all over the country is going to be coming into Hartford, and be a great opportunity for parents who want to attend.
Yeah, so there's an opportunity for magnet school parents to attend, I believe, at no cost. So if you're interested in attending, give Enid Ray a call. She's the Director of Choice. And if you just call the district and look for Enid Ray, you can find out more about it. But it is coming up soon, and it should be pretty amazing.
Yeah, so 695-8000, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, so. Just ask for Enid, and hopefully parents who really want to attend can go because it's unbelievably expensive.
It's crazy expensive. So, but there is another a big item on the forefront, and this is the one I'm actually really excited about, and that's blended learning.
Yeah.
And I don't know if blended learning really has come to Hartford yet. I know in other areas of the country, people have jumped on board with this idea of online learning or using technology more in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so I think this is a fabulous concept.
Yeah.
And so it's coming. It's here in Hartford. It's being tested and piloted. And
I would say the best way to learn about it is going to be May 1st, right? Thursday, there's a symposium where Hartford's going to be showcasing. Here are the pilots that we've run at 2 high schools. Here's what we're learning. Come check it out. Here's why we're doing all this work. This is why they've won a huge national grant for it, like $500,000 to be piloting this. Teachers seem incredibly excited. Students are incredibly excited. I mean, it seems like the students are learning online anyway, all the time.
Yep.
And so, education has to also say, all right, well, how these kids are learning, let's meet them where they're at. And I will add this, blended learning is exciting because it's not just about using technology. It's really about how do you personalize learning more. And so, I'm all about technology. I'm a firm believer that there's a stronger place for it in our classrooms, but even more important is this idea of personalized, student-centered learning. And we're going to be part of an effort, I think, throughout the community to try to help people understand that, help people advocate for more personalized learning, right? Learning is more personalized to your child, both where they're at and what they're interested in. And, technology can be helpful in that. So maybe Hartford is doing some great things. It sure sounds like it, and we're hoping to learn more and get people's feedback on it. So May 1st, that's that right?
May 1st, it's a Thursday night. Taking place downtown at 960 Main, like right on the lower level in the GFOX building. So you do have to register to attend. So give us a call at the office, 860-244-3333, and I will give you more information on how you need to register to attend that event. But good stuff.
Sounds great.
All right, Paul, we are out of time.
Right.
So until next week, we'll see you soon.
Take
See you
care.
later. All right.